Hello everybody and everybody else. My name is ScriptCat and this is ScriptCat Says. On this channel we take a look at First Amendment auditors, sovereign citizens, cop watchers, cop baiters, and Karens from a slightly different angle. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I read every comment I receive and appreciate every one of them. You all have given me many great ideas. Keep your eye on the channel. You might see one of your suggestions come to life. What in the world is a romance scammer? Well, to put it delicately, a romance scammer is a person who takes advantage of a vulnerable man or woman for personal gain. To put it another way, a romance scammer is a thief, a cad, and the lowest creep in a sea of lowly creeps infesting this earth, and unfortunately, they've been with us since people gathered in societies. There are always lonely people who crave personal contact with someone they can trust. Humans, for the most part, are communal animals who don't like being alone. There are numerous examples, however, of people who find themselves alone in this world through no fault of their own, or perhaps because of their own actions. Attractive people with loads of money are natural targets for scammers, romantic or otherwise. Not so attractive people who are perceived to have money to spare are also targets. Historically, these unfortunate targets were contacted through newspaper ads, sometimes referred to as Lonely Hearts ads. A scammer places an ad in a newspaper, preferably in a large city, declaring themselves to be on the lookout for a mate. Once contacted, the target, or mark, is told that the scammer is low on funds due to some fantastic story, and requests the mark to send them X amount of money for a ticket to get them wherever the mark lives. More fantastical stories leads to more money being sent until the mark is themselves low on fun. Suddenly, all the communication is terminated. The mark is left broken-hearted and just plain broke. The mark is ashamed to report the theft to the police and lives in shame for the rest of their lives. There are, of course, a wide variety of these types of scams, some of which siphon hundreds of thousands of dollars from vulnerable individuals. It is truly shameful. However, only recently has the scammer begun to not only steal money from a vulnerable person, but when that money runs out, besmirch or threaten the mark to either keep them quiet or just for their own amusement. That's what I call truly evil. Now comes the internet. The same scam is played. Poor me, I need help, won't you help me? Money is transferred. Sometimes the scammer actually meets with the mark, having first plied them with photographs which promise intimate contact. The scammer, of course, requests equally revealing photographs. A great deal of communication occurs before the two meet, garnering the trust of the mark. They meet, the scammer appearing not at all like their photos. The mark is then alarmed, but still trusting. When the money runs out, or the mark decides this isn't going to work, the scammer threatens the mark with the intimate photos in their possession and begins spreading stories far and wide about the mark. Reputations are ruined, businesses are destroyed, friends are lost, and the scammer is triumphant. This twist on the old story is truly disgusting. We all know who I'm talking about. Now let's listen to this gentleman give us a bit more information.
Hello everybody, I'm Paul DUCKLIN from Naked Security at SOPHOS. Welcome to our brand new YouTube channel, and this is a series of videos entitled What to Do When. Now the idea is that if you're going to get caught up in a cybersecurity disaster, the time to have prepared for it is before rather than after. And actually what we really hope is that by preparing in advance, it won't be what to do when, but what to do so that there isn't a when. And today's topic is what to do when you come across a romance scammer. So let's start. What is a romance scam? Very simply put, it's when you meet someone, for example, on a dating site, you decide you quite like them, they seem to fit in with your lifestyle, they've got some common interests with you, you go off the dating platform, you chat to them as you would to build up any relationship, you decide you quite like them, but it's all a pack of lies. And the crook is trying to draw you in so that they can get something out of you in the future. So how do these things typically play out? The idea is that the crook will look around on the dating site, probably visit your Facebook profile, look at what you're saying on Twitter, find out what your birthday photos show that give them a good idea of what interests you. They'll become the person that you want them to be. And at some point in the future, when you want to meet up with the person for the first time, because typically this will be a long distance relationship, instead of just like you would in real life agreeing to meet them at a neutral location, maybe have a date, going Harvey's on it, what will happen is suddenly the other person wants to meet you, but all the money needs to come from your side. And there'll typically be a long and complicated story that will allow them to make money, not just for days or weeks, but sometimes even for months or years. So in terms of what do they want, almost always what they're after is money. And typically they'll start small, and because they're in this for the long game, they will keep feeding you stories about why they need a little bit more for this and that and the other. And they remember, these guys are professionals. They work in teams. So the guy you're chatting to that you've fallen in love with, who needed $800 for a visa, and then he needed another $125 because actually the attorney's fees to get the visa sorted, and then he needed money for the airline ticket, and then guess what? You get a phone call from the hospital. One of the other guys in the gang saying, oh, it's terrible news. We've had this chap admitted and he's in hospital, he doesn't have any money, and suddenly you're on the hook for all of this stuff. And at all the time, the crook is continuing to play for what you want him or her to be in a way that you think there's still a relationship going on here, and you're willing to put more money and more money and more money in. And we've read of cases where people haven't just been taken for thousands of dollars over weeks, or even tens of thousands of dollars over months, but hundreds of thousands of dollars or even more over many years. Because once you're sucked in, it's kind of pretty difficult to give up on the dream, because as soon as you admit that you've been fleeced, you have to face the fact that it's all over. So the best thing is to avoid getting sucked in the first place, or if you do get sucked in, to get out early. So let's look at 3 simple tips that can help you do that. First of all, if you do go on dating sites and you do meet people online, don't be amazed at if they suddenly seem to know an awful lot about you and they just seem magically to have interests that mesh with yours. You've probably given away on your social media accounts, on your Facebook pages, in Twitter, and all over the place, enough for somebody to pretend to be the person you want them to be. It's okay to give all that stuff away on social media if that's what you want to do, but don't be surprised if other people find out what it is. You put it there to be found, so it's not some kind of emotional magic if somebody looks it up and then plays it back to you. The second thing to bear in mind is if you are building a long distance relationship with somebody online, that can work out perfectly fine if you're both real people and you're both actually interested in the relationship. But watch out when money comes up for the first time. In other words, as we said earlier, what would typically happen when you meet someone in your own area and you're going on a date for the first time, you typically meet up and you'd kind of expect that you'd each put in half of what it's going to cost. So be very careful if suddenly the other person wants to meet you and they want to come to you and you have to provide all the money. I'm not saying that means it is a scam, but it's probably a very, very good warning sign. And the last tip is, if you have got sucked into one of these, if you have already given money away to crooks, and then you realize, wait a minute, this is all a pack of lies, don't throw good money after bad, or bad money after good. I can never remember which way around that goes. Don't be afraid to confront your demons, cut the relationship dead, and get out before you're scammed out of even more money. Because remember, the only thing worse than being scammed for $10,000 is being scammed for $100,000. And let me just finish by saying, if you do get sucked into one of these scams, and it's not a sign that you're unintelligent or thoughtless or foolish or anything like that, you're trying to use online dating in the way it was intended and you've been deluded by someone you've never met, if somebody from your trusted circle of friends or family tries to advise you that this may not be what it seems, don't spurn them, don't show them the hand. Maybe listen to what they've got to say. They could save you a lot more heartache in the future.
None of us thinks this is ever going to happen to us. We're too smart for that, we tell ourselves. But it does happen, even to the best of us. The heart wants what the heart wants, and will overlook a lot to find that love we crave. As the gentleman said, listen to your friends, your family, your colleagues. Take their advice. Be careful.